Welcome to Web3 and Me, presented by FLOLiO. I am your host, Jeremy Weber, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Dan Vondelok. Dan, how are things going in the Netherlands this morning?
Going pretty well. We've won some golden medals on the Olympics on ice skating, like three of them or something.
Yeah,
So
the speed skating, you guys absolutely crush it.
yeah. Well, as we do, the only sport we're any decent at this point. But hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. How about yourself?
Good. USA still, I don't think they've won a gold quite yet. Just not great at the Winter Olympics, but I love watching it. I
Yeah,
snowboard, so I love watching the snowboarding
awesome.
events and just watching what these people can do is incredible,
Definitely,
absolutely
definitely.
incredible. So it's always very impressive to see that. Today's topic, as you can see on the screen, is red flags. Now, for today, nothing we discuss as normal is financial advice. We just want to try to provide you with some good insight and information to make better decisions. So if you find this valuable, please subscribe to our channel, and let others know if they're getting involved in NFTs. So, Dan, when it comes to red flags, we're discussing it in the context of buying into NFT projects. There are a
Yeah,
ton of projects out there. We just saw January was the biggest month in NFT volume yet. So with that is always going to come bad actors who are going to try to take advantage of the situation. No matter what industry you're in, there's always going to be grifters. There's always going to be people
yeah,
who are trying to take advantage of others and take their money. So we want to give as much information as we can. There's never going to be a way to totally determine hey, this project is going to be a disaster. But
yeah.
there are certain things to look out for that I know both Dan and I practice when it comes to our own buying and selling. And today we're talking mainly about buying and what to buy, what not to buy, and how to make some better choices. So the term rug pull gets thrown around a lot in NFTs, Dan. So can you kind of give an idea to the people of the difference between a slow rug and a normal rug and kind of what a rug pull looks like?
Yeah, definitely. So you're gonna see like a lot of the keyword like rug being thrown around like JWeb said. And the important distinction between those is a slow rug and a normal rug, or just a normal rug. And the difference is a slow rug is essentially when a project doesn't really support the project in the long term. They make it seem like, yeah, guys, we're building and we're working behind the scenes and we're talking to some huge names, and they're not really delivering. And then a couple months pass, half a year pass, and don't really have much to show for it, and the value kind of like went down, or at least the price, because it's important to note that price doesn't necessarily equate to value. And a normal rug, it's just when they pull out all the plugs instantly. They got the money, they sold out their mint, and then they delete their Discord, delete their socials, and they find some way to like secure the money in some like anonymous way. And so that's basically the important difference between a slow rug and a rug. Is it's like slow, like this, slow in the word slow rug.
Mm-hmm.
They let the project die over time, and while they reap the rewards.
Yeah, so definitely a good thing to be aware of there. And now, with that in mind, let's jump into some of the red flags that we see that can lead to these rugs that we want to make sure that you're avoiding. So, right off the bat, always look at the team behind a project if you're thinking about buying it. There are some teams that are anonymous and have delivered, but we've seen more and more recently that it just doesn't feel as necessary to invest in a completely anonymous team, especially if they have no previous,
Yeah,
experience, or from what you can see, they haven't put out any other projects before. There are plenty of people who are anonymous who have done multiple things in the space, and those are people that I would tend to give the benefit of the doubt to. But if it's a brand new person who hasn't been around, they haven't really done anything, and they're trying to get you to buy into a project, that to me is a red flag.
yeah, and like bonus points when you have like on their website they have like a team member section, and then they have this like weird thematic name. Like if the project's going to be like about bones or something, and then the founder is called like Mr. Skeleton or whatever, right? Like those types of things. It's just stuff that just doesn't sound right. Like or like founder, oh Dave, and then co-founder Mark. Like it's just very weird, and very like a huge red flag, I think.
Yeah, so at this point, having a doxed team, or at least part of the team being doxed, is beneficial in my mind. People need their security; they want their anonymity
Yeah,
for some things. But if a project is asking for a lot of money to get into it and they're not willing to share, a little bit of information about themselves, that's a bad sign in my book. Now, we also see on Twitter and in Discord and even lately in Instagram, a lot of projects getting huge numbers of followers and Discord members. And that is another red flag, Dan. What comes to mind when you see something like that?
Yeah, so it's important to note that having like an insane amount of Twitter followers isn't necessarily like a red flag. You kind of have to find and see, like, are these followers real? Are these followers fake? Like, are they botted? Because it's important to do some research, right? Because if you have 100,000 followers and you can see that their tweets have like 200 likes or like 100 likes, you just know that maybe 1% of those are real, maybe like a point something percent of those are real, but they're not like, they don't, like, it's just not real, right? And then you also have to look at their Discord members and then how those two numbers correlate to each other. So if a Twitter has 12,000 followers, which is like a normal amount for a decent project, and then a Discord has like 200,000 followers or like 200,000 members, it doesn't add up, right? So that means there's something going on where the user is somehow um like what do you call it, like encouraged to create multiple accounts, to join, invite 20 friends to get a chance at our whitelist, those types of stuff.
Yeah,
So
I'd say with Twitter and Instagram too, looking at their posts and the engagement on them,
yeah,
because it's really easy to buy followers, from these bot farms on Twitter, Instagram, and you can buy likes as well, but like a lot of comments. If you see people commenting on the post, if you
yeah,
see on those comments the team interacting with them as well, that to me is a better sign that it's a more legitimate project, right? So keeping an eye on social media. We also see, on Instagram, there have been a lot of scams lately, a lot of projects that look similar to each
yeah,
other.
yeah,
And I would also say if you're seeing a lot of ads for a project on Twitter and Instagram, that's another red flag for me as far as social media goes. Like, I've been scrolling through Twitter and I'll see like an ad for something, and I was like, any good project doesn't need to pay for a Twitter ad to sell out. That's just not
yeah,
necessary. So to me, that is also a red flag. And going along with that can be the mint price. This, last year, middle of last year, when a lot of us started getting into NFTs, the mint price for a project was, 0.08,
yeah, yeah,
0.07, zero point 0.06. Now it's really common to see really high mint prices like zero point 0.1 and 0.25.
yeah.
We're recording this on a Tuesday. Yesterday was the Pixelmon release. That was their first project. That was a 3 ETH mint.
Although it was
And
a Dutch auction, to be fair,
it was
but
a Dutch auction, but still, a
yeah,
Dutch auction for a new project starting at 3 ETH is a little high. So, that's definitely something to look out for as well, Dan.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, again, it's not necessarily a red flag, but
Hmm.
it's just something you should really pay close attention to. It's very important to, when you're buying into a project with a very high mint price, you need to ask yourself, is this price really like justified? And like, is the amount of money that they're asking really, like, is that equal to what they're bringing to the table, right? Because like I said before, like, price isn't equal to value. Um, they could be asking for zero point 0.3, but is zero point 0.3 really what they're worth? Is it really what they're bringing to the table? So you really have to like think about that before you invest.
Yeah. And going back into, some of the discords, you mentioned the whitelist before. Another big one is all of the hurdles that you have to jump through to get
Yeah,
onto a whitelist. We've seen this lately with projects such as Invisible Friends, where you have to do a lot because it's such a limited project and it's so much hype to get a whitelist spot. Same thing was true for Hape. You had to do a ton of stuff in their Discord, in their community to pump the project to get a whitelist spot. So what sort of things? I know, Dan, that you're Mr. Whitelist. So what are some of the things that you look for when trying to get onto a whitelist, and other things that you try to avoid?
well, I'm mainly getting my whitelist through like other communities. So
Okay.
I don't really do the sitting in a chat and typing for like 20 hours a day, thankfully. If I weren't in these communities offering like those whitelist spots, I don't think I would have any whitelists at all. It's just the amount of effort required to get a like a whitelist if you're not getting like giveaways or whatever, it's just insane. Like you said, the amount of hurdles you have to jump through. You have to invite X amount of friends, reach like an X amount of level in terms of activity, uh, change your name, change your profile picture. Like there's so many things they can add, and they keep adding onto it as well. And when a project is mostly focusing on organic whitelist giveaways, so they just like pick and choose somewhere, like, oh, you've been very upstanding in the server over the course of whatever. Here you go, you get a whitelist role. That's basically the best form of giving them away. Um, but what you see on Twitter is people tattooing projects on their arm and being like, guys, I tattooed on my arm. Please give me a whitelist. Like, people are going absolute bonkers. So, yeah, crazy.
So wait, you don't have like a dozen tattoos of the different projects
It's
that you've been
on my
whitelisted
back,
for?
on my back,
It's on
so
your
you
back.
can't
Yeah, like
see
a
it.
mural, like a mural
Yeah,
on your back. That'd be a bit excessive, but
definitely.
whatever you gotta do to make that money, Dan, do
Yeah,
your thing. So going along with some of these, hurdles and all this stuff, we see a lot of new projects out, as we mentioned. There's so many different ones trying to grab your attention. And one way that they do that is by promising a shit ton of
yeah. And
stuff
buzzwords, right?
that it is damn near impossible for the to deliver on all of it. Right? Like early on in NFTs, the roadmap was like, all right, we'll get some merch out and you'll get a companion and we'll do some donations to charity and
Yeah,
that, those were the things. Now, to get your attention, it's like, all right, in the first year, we're going to have a token and a video game, and George Clooney's going to come to
metaverse.
your house and mow your lawn. Like
Yeah,
all this crazy stuff that makes no sense. And it's like, there's no way that you can get all this done. So I would say a big issue these days is the over promising,
yeah,
and along with that, these projects that promise you the world from the jump, that's going to be priced in. So you're buying a project that's super hyped up with the expectation of they're going to have to deliver all this stuff to meet the current value, as opposed to a project that starts small, lets you buy in at a reasonable price, and then slowly builds and delivers over time. And that's where you see projects like Bored Apes and World of Women and Cool Cats have been so successful. They've been around for 8-9 months, and they've slowly over time added on to their value. And they didn't start off by offering you the world.
yeah.
The
And
with
just to touch on that real quick, it's important to note that a cheaper mint. So let's say we're minting something at 0.08. If that doesn't immediately take off, it's not going to go to zero. People often don't really bother with selling something for like that low. You can see a 0.08 mint go to like 0.04 or zero point zero 0.05 and just sit there, and people are fine with like just keeping it in their wallet and see like maybe it does well in the future. But mints for like 3 ETH, well, like where's it gonna go if it doesn't go up? You know, like we see with Pixelmon, people like they're like, damn, I just spent $12,000 on some pixels. I need to pay like my rent or something, right? And then they immediately sell like, oh shit, I need my money back. And now you can see the force at 1 ETH, like it's, like there's much less risk in cheaper mints, just because people often don't just people aren't often bothered with selling it. So that's important to note as well.
and the teams behind those cheaper mints, they also realize that like, hey, we have to make royalties on
Yeah,
secondary sales, so we need to show value on this. And that
yeah,
can definitely put a little bit more, urgency behind them to deliver on what they said they were going to
yeah.
deliver on.
I agree.
Like Cool Cats, they have their game and their token, but that's their like second roadmap. They delivered on everything else before that. Gutter Cat Gang, they're going to be delivered. They have a huge roadmap that they've already started working on, but that was after they delivered every single point on the first one. You can say the same for Bored Apes. They didn't start putting out these grand aspirations until
Yeah,
they had shown that they could deliver on smaller things first. So be very wary of a project that is brand new and is telling you that they're going to give you everything under the sun if you're a part of that community, because that is just overhyping it. And I would rather a project under promise and over deliver every day of the week.
definitely, definitely.
So Dan, any other red flags for you?
Yeah, so I wanted to touch on a subject that is mostly down to like professionalism, or at least like how well the lead of the project can present themselves to the outer world. So there's been some projects where the people like announcing the like the announcements in their Discord server, and they say stuff like, "Oh well, because you guys aren't reading this, we have to work more." Like really like looking down on the community, just like overall like leaving kind of a bad impression. And it's very important for a project lead to be like well versed, be very likable, be very like good at talking to people. Because if you're a project lead and you're talking to other people from other projects, you need to create like a good I can't say it, relationship. There you
Yep.
go.
There you
I
go.
hate the letter. I can't say it. And like if that doesn't work, then the project can definitely stagnate in terms of like partnerships. So that's why I think if you're a lead of a project, you need to be nice, be likable, and be like super like out there.
Yeah, going along with that, there are a lot of partnerships. These communities have, a lot of cross pollination, if you will, of different
Yeah,
members.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
I don't own just Bored Apes. I own many, many other projects too. And if the founders behind one have this mentality of like, it's
yeah,
us or nothing, that is very short sighted. And that shows that they're probably not in it for the long haul. And, going along with some of the Discord behavior that shows a lack of professionalism is, I know you've seen it too. If a project is saying that, like, if you list below a 1 ETH floor, we are
oh,
kicking your ass out of the Discord.
yeah,
That right there, get the hell out of that as quickly as you can. That is
yeah,
a really bad sign. A dev team that is purely focused on what the floor price is, that's problematic long term.
yeah,
That's for the community to get excited about. That's for the
exactly.
holders and the early believers to get excited about. The team behind it, if their focus is on building and continuing to grow their project and not, oh, the floor went up a little bit today, so we're going to throw a parade, you know,
Yeah,
something to look for as well.
I sold two projects, I think yesterday and the day before, because they reference on Twitter, if we get this floor price, we're going to throw a party. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. I want none of that. None of that. If you're a project and you talk about floor price, I am selling the second I see that. Like I am out.
Yep. I would I would definitely agree, Like I said, let the community get excited about how much money they're making and let the dev team focus on continuing to build and grow.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I think that is quite a few red flags to keep an eye on. So just a quick recap of things to look for when getting a project, things to avoid. So if a team is totally anonymous and they have no prior history, that's probably a good reason to avoid. If they've out of nowhere grown a huge number of Twitter followers, Discord members, and if their Twitter has very little interaction beyond, a ton of followers that could be bots, something to avoid. A high mint price can also be a red flag if they're, whatever their value proposition is. So be careful there. If you're seeing a lot of hurdles to get on the whitelist for a project, also be wary of that. Over promising, another red flag that we discussed, and then a general lack of professionalism. So if a project seems like they can't keep their shit together, they're focused on the wrong things, definitely something to look out for. So quite a few red flags there. Be smart with your decisions. If you got questions, drop them to us on Twitter. You can find me at JWeb777, at Dan LAAQ
There you
for
go.
Mr. Dan Vondelok over there. Check out the FLOLiO Discord to ask questions. We're always there to help. So for Dan, for the FLOLiO team, this was Web3 and Me. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye bye.